Namaskaram. There has been a lot of conversations regarding Twitter lately. Firstly, there was a rumor that Twitter is going to be banned, which is not true. And secondly, a conversation regarding whether or not Twitter's lost its intermediary status, which is a little misleading, as I'll talk about in this video. And now there's, of course, a lot of conversation regarding the possibility that Twitter's already lost its intermediary status because of media reports quoting anonymous government sources saying that Twitter's lost its status under Section 79 of the IT Act. The Minister of Information Technology has also sent out a few messages on Twitter and on Coup that talk about the fact that that Twitter continues to be in violation of the IT Rules 2021, but doesn't really provide clarity on whether or not Twitter's lost its status or not. Now, before we go on, we need to understand what exactly is being talked about here. And the first thing that we need to understand is that under Section 79 of the Information Technology Act 2000, intermediaries like Twitter have an exemption from liability. So they exempted from being liable for the content that they've generated on their platform by users in most cases, except for certain cases in which they can be held liable. So one of those provisions in which say that Twitter can be held liable or an intermediary can be held liable for the content that they host is when they are not in compliance of the rules and regulations made by the central government. So this ties in neatly into the IT Rules 2021, which in Rule 7 says that if you do not comply with the rules, then you will lose your protection under Section 79 of the IT Act. So the basic compliance mechanism that the IT Rules 2021, which talks about both intermediary guidelines as well as digital media and ethics, etc., that particular rule talks about what requirements that intermediaries are supposed to follow if they need to continue to enjoy that protection from liability under Section 79. Now, if you do not continue to comply with those, if you do not comply with the regulations under the IT rules, then you can be held liable for the content that you're generating on your platform, that your users are generating on your platform. So, what has essentially happened is that Rule 7 is supposed to automatically kick in, but the government, in a letter that they sent to Twitter on June 5th, said that this is not the case, that Twitter has not lost that exemption from liability yet, but will lose it if they continue to flout it. Now, there's been no official indication that they've actually lost it since that point. So there's a huge question mark on whether or not Twitter's actually lost it or not, because there's no official notification, there's no press release, there's no actual official indication other than media reports quoting anonymous government sources, which personally I do not find like a high bar to have actually having lost it officially. If the government does say in court, if Twitter sues them that they've lost it, then it becomes quite arbitrary about how the government has actually enforced the rules, because they have arbitrarily decided to give them a week or two more, and then arbitrarily decided not to give them a week or two more. So if they've actually said, okay, we're giving you this much time, they should provide it, and if Twitter has not met it at the end of the day, they should send out some sort of notification or order or a circular saying that you have not officially met it. We are going to withdraw your status. So that has not happened yet, as to my knowledge, as I speak today right now. So that being the case, it's kind of ambiguous whether or not Twitter's lost it. And technically, as I said, that's what Twitter is losing is not the intermediary status, but rather the exemption from liability. That's what they're losing. So they basically will be able to be sued, investigated, etc., etc. They basically be responsible for the content that all of us post on Twitter. So the UP police FIR against Twitter, among others, is relevant here. And people there are a lot of people talking based on that Twitter's actually lost its status. But in my opinion, the case against Twitter won't stand unless three things have happened. Either Section 79 has been withdrawn, but we don't know about whether or not that has actually happened yet. Or if the appropriate authorities have asked it to be taken down, which I think hasn't actually happened, and it's just a direct FIR being registered. And third, upon receiving actual knowledge, that Twitter's actually received knowledge that it is an unlawful video that's being spread. But Twitter can easily claim that they don't know that. right? So that is kind of not relevant here. The UP police FIR angle is not as relevant as one might think. Now, then it comes, of course, to how to sum up what's actually happening with respect to Twitter. And in essence, three things again has happened. The status of Twitter as an intermediary is as an exemption, as having removed the exemption from liability is unclear or ambiguous, right? They were not sure if they continue to have that Section 79 protection. And secondly, Twitter continues to act like a spoiled child, and basically they continue to be the only major platform that isn't following the major rules and regulations. And lastly, the Minister of Information Technology, Ravi Shankar Prasad, is quite clearly saying to Twitter, if you don't comply, you are going to be in a world of trouble. So that's all I have to say about this matter for now. Stay safe, mask up, and get vaccinated as soon as possible. Jai Hind.